My dear friends, I would like to share with you my story of why I left the Jehovah's Witnesses cult, because that's what they are. They're a cult, no question about it. Going back to 2013, this was my first meeting in reply to my request to be an unbaptized publisher. So in December of 2013, in a meeting with Elder Brother Callsback, and other elders, I was asked not to contact anyone about my health products, but to let people come to me. I was given detailed admonitions about the snares of greed and about exploitation and covetousness and about examining our motives. And instead of keeping their eye simple, some have complicated their lives and the lives of others with tempting business dealings. I was told that my request was denied until a future date to make sure that I did not contact anyone about my health products. The elders didn't ask me any questions prior to this meeting or at this meeting, December 2013. Uh, so didn't ask me anything during this meeting to get any facts from me. So I was not contacting anyone about health products and not selling any health products or interested in selling anything to anyone, to any of the brothers or the sisters. I'm a court interpreter by profession, and I was also an investments broker for over 20 years. The subject of health and sickness comes up often in conversation, and I was hearing many sisters complaining about their health and their aches and pains, uh, and I knew a little something about this because our medical covers only MDs, medical doctors who practice allopathic medicine. So which is prescriptions for everything, and surgery and chemotherapy and radiation and surgery for cancer. So our medical is set up as a monopoly for the pharmaceuticals and the MDs. And the MDs are educated to prescribe medications for everything. So this setup is wonderful for doctors and pharmaceuticals. But the people, you can conclude from their experience, from the experiences that we have the worst outcomes in the world. MDs believe and tell their patients that everything is hereditary. And if people get sick and they can't fix it with their therapies, it isn't their fault. So this is what MDs would like, for people to believe. Naturopathic doctors, on the other hand, believe and tell their patients that no illness is hereditary. They believe that all illnesses are as a result of vitamin and mineral deficiencies, and that by supplementing with the right quality supplements and by avoiding the wrong foods and eating the right foods, all illnesses are avoidable and curable. And some guarantee these results in 90 days. So I shared with the sisters what I was learning about health, and many were already taking vitamins and minerals, but were still not getting the results that they were hoping for. So they asked about this doctor who guaranteed results in 90 days. Okay, so sisters are very good listeners and they catch on to things that you say to them. So I told them about Dr. Wallach, who is the author of Dead Doctors Don't Lie, and that's a catchy title as well. And some of the sisters asked me if I was taking Dr. Wallach's vitamins and minerals and what were they called. And so I said yes, that I was taking them. And they were from Longevity and they were called 90 for Life. And this is another catchy title. So some sisters wanted to try these health products. And so I gave them the website and the longevity phone number. And some ordered the products themselves, while others asked if they could try my products. Okay, so I gave a few of the sisters my products for them to try. And I gave the sisters my products to try, uh, as gifts. So I didn't sell it to them. Uh, Anyways, according to the elders book, Treat God's Flock with Tenderness, the Watchtower announcing Jehovah's Kingdom in 1989 says in number 12, for one thing, in cases involving personal differences, it may be possible for individuals to settle matters privately, and that's at Matthew 18:15 to 17. And since elders are not masters over our faith, they are not expected to look into purely personal affairs that do not involve serious violations or Bible laws or principles. Naturally, if there's evidence that a person has taken some false step before he is aware of it, those having spiritual qualifications should try to readjust such a man in a spirit of mildness. And this is at Galatians 6:1. So was there any evidence that I had taken some false step before being aware of it? How would the elders know without questioning me? And in order to get some facts. Whatever they got was from distorting uh, hearsay. So it was a distortion of truth and facts. So I took out my Bible and asked the elders to go to Proverbs 18 and 13. And I read myself, when anyone replies to a matter before he hears the facts, it is foolish and humiliating. So, the point that I was making was very simple. I was saying to the elders, you don't have any facts. You didn't get any facts from me or anyone else. I don't know what you're talking about, but it's foolishness on your part to be, telling me that I've done something wrong and reading to me all these admonitions and so on, when having really nothing to go on. And I also pointed them to the elders treat God's flock with tenderness. And it's the Watchtower announcing Jehovah's Kingdom, and it's 1989 that was published. But I carried that around with me for some reason. And in 13, it says, elders are to serve for justice, always being impartial, so that they should act on evidence of wrongdoing, not on mere hearsay. So when elders fail to get the facts and act on hearsay, they can cause much more harm than good by coming to the wrong conclusion and making false accusations and even slander. So they all looked at each other at that meeting, but said nothing, and their silence spoke volumes because I knew that I had made, a target of myself. But, I love God's word and I stand by it without fear or hesitation. So however they take it, they take it. And so be it, is, my feeling and my thinking and my philosophy really in life. Anyways, in my next meeting about my request to be an unbaptized publisher, you can imagine what happened. Okay, so I was told that I had reproved an unbaptized sister who was the mother of a baptized sister, and that I do not have the right to reprove anyone because I'm not yet baptized. Okay, so I was not shown any scriptures to support the statement because there are none. According to Leviticus 19 and 17, we must reprove our brothers and sisters so as not to share in their sin. So whether baptized or not, these scriptures apply to all of us. Uh, this lady, Linda Derrier, did not come to me about this matter and did not go to the elders about this matter. You know, she's a lovely, lovely person, and we could have handled anything between ourselves without the elders sticking their nose into any of this. But of course, they wanted to. They wanted to use something against me, and this was evident to me. I'm very perceptive, not to brag on myself, but anyways. So one of the elders in this meeting, Mike Sawatsky, and I have no problem naming them, uh, had heard about this from hearsay. Okay, so here we go again, making accusations based on hearsay. And it became obvious to me that they already made their decision to reject my request and were going to continue with their nonsense. So I asked the elders, Mike Sawatsky and Micah Bertoli, to set up a meeting with whoever had a problem with me and that I wanted to apologize to them. They refused. So I asked them to please be peacemakers and to ask the sisters to meet with me so that I could make peace with them in a loving way and that I was willing to apologize. I was then told that the sisters refused to meet with me. Uh-huh. So then I said, well, if the sisters refuse to meet with me, then according to scripture, I'm not the one who has the problem. And so I said to the elders, in that case, is it fair to hold me responsible and to continue to withhold my commenting privileges and to continue to refuse my request to be an unbaptized publisher and to get baptized? Is this serving justice and being impartial? I got no reply from the elders. They realized that I had set up a trap for them, and I hope that they did because I was getting sick and tired of their unscriptural behavior. So I had, as I mentioned, I had with me the elders treat God's flock with tenderness and the Watchtower announcing Jehovah's Kingdom, 1989, with me, and I read to them number 6. Number 6 says, a Christian man who is reaching out for an office of overseer is desirous of a fine work. 1 Timothy 3:1. When we consider this and Jesus' counsel, just cited, these basic factors stand out. Number 1 is that Christian elders must not tyrannize over others. Those shouldering responsibility among Jesus's followers, uh, they, they must be their slaves, not their masters. And men reaching out for an overseer office should look upon it as a fine work, not as an exalted position. In Proverbs 25:27 and 1 Corinthians 1:31, the term elder does not elevate any man above other worshippers of Jehovah. Rather, the congregation has reason to expect all elders to be spiritually mature, experienced, and humble men who take the lead in sacred service. Indeed, elders should view themselves as humble slaves of Jehovah God, Jesus Christ, and fellow Christians. Romans 12:11, Galatians 5:13, Colossians 3:24. They not only refused my request, but took my commenting privilege as well. After many months, I noticed that my commenting privilege were taken again without letting me know that they were or why. So I had noticed that they were and asked Bill Kalsbeck, who told me, yes, that my commenting privilege was taken and that commenting is a privilege and that he did not know that I was now told that my commenting privileges was taken and that they were looking into something. So, of course, I replied that it may have been commendable had they looked into something or whatever first before taking my commenting privilege and given me the opportunity to make right whatever I may have done wrong. First, assuming that it was a wrong. Anyways, at a meeting about what they were looking into, Brother Justin Buck told me that I was witnessing on Facebook and that it is not proper and that there is some literature to that effect, but that he forgot to bring it to our meeting. So they knew by now that they needed literature or scripture to support whatever they claimed or accused me of. So I'm glad that they noticed that. Anyways, they didn't bring anything. But Micah Bertoli gave me this literature a few days after our meeting. It was the question box, should publishers make extensive use of the internet to witness to or to study with strangers living in another country? So after reading this, I found that this applied to publishers witnessing to strangers in countries under ban. And I was witnessing to family members in France and Serbia. And these countries are not under ban, were not then and are not now. And witnessing to family members using Facebook and directing them to jw.org resulted in two of them becoming interested to start a Bible study in their country. So after bringing what the article said to the attention of both brothers Buck and Bertoli, and that I had told them that I was witnessing to family members in France and Serbia, and not to strangers in countries under ban, my commenting privilege was not returned for months. Now, by the way, I was not a publisher. I was, or an unbaptized publisher or any kind of a publisher at all. And yet this article was completely written for publishers. So the elders were now crossing over into emotional and spiritual abuse, is the way that I understood it and saw it. And I believe that anyone would come to the same conclusion. So it became clear to myself, at least, that they continually took my commenting privileges away because I gave good comments that brought the brothers and sisters to praise my comments and view me as a spiritual sister. But it was obvious to me that the elders wanted to tarnish my good name and reputation. And so that's why they took those commenting privileges, so that I would be, left in the corner somewhere in oblivion, or to become doubtful to the brothers and sisters. In January 2016, here's when this started. This what we call as what is it, when a witch hunt. Okay, a good thing that I remembered. Forgive my accent. And of course, I was born in another country, so the English that I speak sometimes is leaves something to be desired. But anyways, I do my best. Anyways, in January of 2016, I was asked to have a meeting with brothers Mike Sawatsky and Viad Abukadr. And I was asked if I had told Linda Lamb to stop taking her medications. What? Anyways, and if I had told any other brother or sister to stop taking their medication. Whoa, so now this was getting a little bit serious. And I said no. So I was asked to provide a list of names of the people whom I had given health products to. And so I gave them, the names of a few of the people that I had given health products to. And I was told that they would contact these sisters to find out if I had told any of them to stop taking their medication. So I asked the elders if Linda Lamb had come to them about this matter. And I was told by the elders that Linda Lamb had not come to them about this medication issue. They had heard about it from hearsay. Okay, so here we go. So I thought to myself, here we go again, more of the same. And this time I doubted that this was even hearsay. Now I started to believe that this was a setup from the start to finish. And you will see as this unfolds that this is exactly what it was. Now, after I answered their questions, and they never got back to me about anything, about, contacting the list of people that I gave them, nothing. All of a sudden, in February of 2016, Brother Justin Bach gave a talk in the local needs and said that someone had told someone to stop taking her medication for the purpose of selling her health products for profit, and that network marketing is an illegal pyramid scheme, and that everyone should take their medications as prescribed. Sister Konsback and other sisters rushed over to Linda after the meeting, and Linda Lamb sat behind me at our meeting. And all these sisters were very concerned for Linda and her medications. So the wives of the elders knew who the people in Brother Buck's talk were, even though neither my name nor Linda's name were mentioned. So this talk was meant to give the entire congregation a message about me and to mark me. Velika Filipovsky was so affected by this talk that Brother Buck gave that she told me in our language to give her her health products that she had asked me to bring to her, either at my home or at her home, because she did not want to take them from me because Sister Bodner was with her. So Sister Filipovsky's reaction to this talk is proof that people knew who this talk was about without my name being mentioned. And Sister Filipovsky also told me that she was told by the other sisters to avoid me. And I noticed and sensed myself how the brothers and sisters reacted and how they started avoiding me after this talk that Brother Bug gave in local needs. Okay, so then the elders had not talked to Linda prior to this talk, and I asked Brother Sawatsky if he had talked to Linda prior to this talk, to ask her if I had told her to stop taking her medication. And he told me that he could not get a straight answer from her. But this was a lie, because I asked Linda myself if Brother Sawatsky had ever called her to talk to her and ask her whether I had told her to stop taking her medication. And she said no, right away, without hesitation. So I asked her if he had ever called, to talk to her about her medication, and she said no. So Brother Sawansky had lied to me because he never asked Linda anything. And when he said that she was hesitant about answering his question, he was trying to mislead me. So as I said, this was a setup to mark me. So in response to this, I asked for a meeting with the elders myself this time and made it clear in no uncertain terms that they slandered me in a local needs talk that Brother Buck gave without any evidence or proof of wrongdoing on my part. And I asked the elders to clear me to the congregation of their false accusations and slander, but they refused. They said that they did not use my name. And of course, in response, I said, does that matter when everyone knows who the talk is about? Because you tell each other, is this not what you call marking a person? So when an elder tells the congregation that network marketing is an illegal pyramid scheme, what does that make me? if I am buying health products from a network marketing company? Is it necessary to mention my name? Does that not make everyone buying health products from network marketing companies that are illegal pyramid schemes a criminal? So there is a direct sales association that has a list of companies who are legal and who are in good standing. The company that I was purchasing health products from was certainly legal. Most network marketing companies are legal. There have been some who have not been legal, but that does not make them all illegal. So this is why getting facts before making slanderous accusations is vital. The facts were that I never told Linda Lamb to stop taking her medication, and I never sold her any health products out of greed or otherwise. And I was not associated with an illegal pyramid scheme. So this was not only slander, but malicious slander, since they admitted that they never told Linda, that I never told Linda Lamb to stop taking her medication. And they admitted that all of the other things said in that talk were also false. And so I said false what? Accusations and slander? Okay, so the elders have never taken responsibility for slandering me and for disrespecting and humiliating me and hurting me and ruining my entire reputation in front of the entire congregation. Okay, so they refuse to take responsibility. They refuse to even apologize to me of all of their false accusations and slander. And this slander was following me, even though I later on moved on to another congregation. This slander continued to follow me throughout the time that I was associated with them until I decided to leave. So the entire congregation was, practically shunning me. Okay, so the only reason that I didn't sue them, and I'm being completely honest about this, because I wanted to very badly. The only reason that I didn't sue them is because I still believed back then that this was Jehovah's organization. And I thought, that these are a few bad brothers, but that doesn't make the entire organization bad, is the way that I reasoned back then until I found out more. And later came to the conclusion, no, this is not Jehovah's organization. But the watchtower that was dated December 15, 2015, Jehovah Will Sustain You, in number 13, brought out, and this was very shortly after the talk that Brother Buck gave and slandered me. It brought out that some well-intentioned brothers give unsolicited health recommendations. And no matter how sincere the suggestion, we do well to keep in mind that there may be risks even with widely used medications and treatments. Proverbs 27 and 12. So according to this watchtower, elders should not get involved in medication issues or tell the congregation to take their medications, since they are not doctors and since medications are not always safe. So taking medications or not taking medications is a personal matter. And this is the point that I had been trying to make to these elders, from the start. So when elders get involved in personal matters of choice, such as medications, they are expressing their own personal viewpoints on medications and basically forcing their personal viewpoints on the congregation when telling everyone, as Brother Buck did in his local needs talk, to take their medications without question. And I had spoken to him after this meeting and told him that he should not be using his position as an elder in the congregation, to force his own opinions, personal opinions about medical, treatments on the entire congregation. So the elders basically accused and slandered me of doing what they themselves are guilty of doing, according to the watchtower. mentioning giving unsolicited health recommendations. And I have never given anyone any medical recommendations or ever told anyone to stop taking their medications or, uh, you know, sharing medical information and giving medical recommendations are two completely separate and different matters. uh, Bill Callsback was supposed to talk to Brother Pilkey about my final request to be an unbaptized publisher. But instead of having a private meeting, he told me that he had heard all about me in a very angry and accusatory tone of voice in front of Brother Pilkey and witnesses in the Kingdom Hall. He said that I was no longer welcome at the New Westminster congregation because of all the same problems that I had caused there. And I told him that these were lies and more slander in a very angry voice myself this time. In reply, he said that he would look into it. And I replied, why didn't you look into it more carefully before making these accusations? Because I was now, it was not only slander, it was more slander from hearsay, but this was now in front of witnesses. And this behavior was now crossing over into emotional and spiritual abuse. Okay. And I was very affected by this behavior and this continuous slander by these elders, because as I'm saying, this was now crossing over into complete, stepping over all borders and being, abusive. Okay. So in response to this, I decided to ask some sisters to take the second step with me, according to scripture. And I wrote a letter uh, explaining all this to brothers Sawatsky and Pilkey, and I gave them a copy of the letter that I had given to the sisters. So definitely, I gave the letter to Sister Daniela Kettler, um, and Sister Piliposky and Hermer, and so and as I said, I gave a copy to Mike Sawatsky and Brother Pilkey. So after they got this letter, they Mike telephoned me and asked me to meet with them. Okay, and I did meet with them, and they told me, as a result of my letter and so on, that I was no longer welcome at the Deer Lake congregation, and that they checked with the Canadian branch, and that the Canadian branch gave them an okay about this. And so I knew right away that he was lying, and that he said that in order to again mislead me about the Canadian branch giving them the okay. Okay. So the first thing I did is phone up the Canadian branch, and they told me no, that they never gave them the okay about anything, and that the Deer Lake congregation is a public place of worship, and that they have no right to tell me that I'm no longer welcome there. So right away, I caught him in a lie. Mike Sawatsky had lied to me, you know, more than once. And so, as soon as he opens his mouth, I doubt everything that he says. Anyways, everything in the letter that I wrote was true and according to scripture. And what I requested was scriptural, according to Matthew 18:15-17. But how are they going to respond to this now? Uh, they continued to refuse to listen to reason about their slander. And now they, in reply, they said that Matthew 18:15 to 17 does not apply to me because I am not yet baptized. Okay. So now I was getting, completely losing all respect for them, and said to them, well, you should have said to me when you knocked on my door that Matthew 18:15 to 17 does not apply to me because I'm not yet baptized. So what does this mean? That people, anyone in your congregation can slander me, can lie to me, can steal from me, and what? I have no recourse in your organization? Is this what you're telling me? So, okay. Anyways, of course, they never answer, when you come back like that, just hit them in the face with their nonsense and their lies. Uh, so, anyways, also, I wanted to go and speak to the brother in New West in order to find out what was it that Brother Cosback was referring to when he said, that I was no longer welcome in New Westminster. So after this meeting with Mike and Micah, I went to the New Westminster congregation, and John Allen is actually the husband of the sister that had come calling on me when I was living in the New Westminster area, and she actually came calling on me several times, and I was very familiar, with Bible, with the scriptures, and we exchanged some thoughts, and so I became familiar with his wife. Anyways, I went and I spoke to her, and I said, there's something very odd that was said to me uh, in the congregation that I'm at now by Brother Cosback, and it involves, something happening in this congregation. He said that he was told that I was no longer welcome in this congregation, and I asked her, do you know anything about that? And she said, no, of course not, because I had gone to a couple of meetings with her in the New Westminster congregation, and nothing like this ever happened. There was no reason whatsoever. This was all made up. And so she asked, her husband, to speak with me after the meeting there. And so John Allen asked a brother, Glenn Wood, to accompany us to a meeting downstairs. And so this was August 2016. And John Allen had been the one who told Bill Cosback these lies about me. He said that, yes, that the New Westminster congregation, that it was decided that I was no longer welcome there. And of course, I asked him, well, why, what was decided and why was this decision made? So what had I done deserving of being told that I was no longer welcome in the New Westminster congregation? And he said that he could not remember, that he would have to look it up if there was any record. So already he was making excuses. Okay. That he doesn't remember, he'd have to look it up if there was any record. How could there be no record, of someone, being told that they're no longer welcome in the congregation? So I asked, why would they have had such a meeting without me and without telling me anything about it? He said that the circuit overseer had a meeting with me and that he told me. And I said, the circuit overseer never had any meeting with me, to tell me that I was no longer welcome in the New Westminster congregation. What is this brother's name? Okay. Well, what the John Allen did is that, I said to John Allen, you're the one who planted, these seeds of doubt about my character, to Brother Kosbach. And he said nothing about my charge to him. Instead, he turned the conversation and asked me how I felt about the brothers in Deer Lake. And I said that I love and respect the brothers, to which he replied that it was not what he heard. Okay. And also, he still didn't answer my question about who the name of the overseer for the New Westminster congregation. So I could see what was going on, with this brother as well. And so now I couldn't believe how, this had gone on to beyond my imagination of what these brothers were willing to do. And I couldn't, figure out what was the reasoning behind it, you know. Anyways, uh, uh, yeah, I was very upset about this meeting, and I could see that if I wasn't ready to sue them, I guess that I would have to do my best with uh, continuing in the congregation and just avoiding all this and putting it aside for the moment. And yet I was considering very seriously about taking this to court and suing them. Um, and as far as I was concerned, but since the elders would not take the second step with me, of course, everyone else would follow their lead, and they weren't willing to either. So I could get nothing cleared up as far as these charges are concerned within the organization, within the congregation. And of course they refused because they knew that the truth would reveal their wrongdoing and false accusations and slander. This was the reason that they kept on refusing. Okay, so after speaking with the Canadian branch, uh, and they told me, of course, that the Kingdom Hall is a public place of worship, um, and said to me that I could, go to the lay congregation if I chose to go there. I basically refused. I said, no. Is it possible for me to go to another congregation because of all the problems that I had with these elders? I thought that it would be best, for me to go to another congregation. And so I asked them, there was another congregation in the same Kingdom Hall, but at a different time. And that was the Edmonds congregation. So they would meet in the afternoon, and the Deer Lake congregation would meet in the morning. Okay. When I came to the Edmonds congregation, the first thing that the elders told me is that, yes, you're welcome. Okay. But they repeatedly told me to forgive, okay, uh, these brothers and, my charge of slander and so on and so on. And so, I said, to them, I would be all for forgiving them, if they asked me to forgive them and if they showed repentance. And of course, this was not in their plan. Okay, so bring out my Bible, me, and I point them, to the scriptures and Proverbs, pardoning with no valid basis. And what it says there is that God does not forgive people who are guilty of willful, malicious sin and who refuse to acknowledge their mistakes, and change their ways and apologize to those whom they have hurt. Proverbs 28:13, Acts 26:20, Hebrews 10:26. Such unrepentant ones become God's enemies. He does not require us to forgive those whom he has not forgiven. Psalm 139:21 and 22. Okay, so if I know these scriptures, how much better should these elders know them? Uh, of course, I was not uh, uh, willing to forgive them unless, they were repentant, and I wanted a public apology. I wanted them to tell the entire congregation that yes, they did slander me, that yes, they lied about this, that I didn't do anything wrong, and yes, they're sorry. And then, once they did that, then I would be able to forgive them. Okay. And so, but one of the important things about the scriptures that I read to you is, according to those, is that these people who do not take responsibility for their lies and their slander, they actually become enemies of Jehovah. Okay, which means that the congregation does not have Jehovah's favor if these brothers remain elders in the congregation. So this was another point that stuck with me, that told me, this is now, bordering on really, what organization is this? Is this really God's organization? And then the thought came to me that, that maybe, God is going to clean up, uh, this congregation in order to keep his organization clean. And he had done this in the past. There are scriptures that show us, that he cleaned up uh, um, congregations way in the past as well. Okay. So, in addition to being told that, that I should forgive, then, I was told that, to drop the matter and so on and so on, uh, you know, and uh, I mentioned to them something about reproving our brothers, and that if we do not reprove them, we share in their sins. And this is at Leviticus 19 and 17. But of course, bringing up scriptures to these elders, I realized was futile. You know, I had believed that they really uh, appreciate and respect God's scriptures, but of course they do not. And now we all know that. We're all very aware, that they're complete hypocrites. Okay, so the same treatment followed me. That was started at the Deer Lake congregation. It continued at the Edmonds congregation. And, my request continued to be denied. And eventually I gave up on requesting, to be an unbaptized publisher and to get baptized. I gave up on that idea uh, uh, because I could see that with these brothers, it was impossible. Okay. And so eventually I came to the conclusion that it's best to just leave this. And I did until 2020 came, and until the talk about the pandemic started and this virus and so on. And so when that started, uh, I knew that this was a false uh, pandemic. So what I did, by now, uh, I didn't write an email only to one elder. I wrote it to all the elders. Okay. And so, because by this time I didn't care anymore. And so I wrote them that back in 1976, there was something similar. And I sent them a video of Mike Wallace, 60 minutes, and he talks about in the 60 minutes video about a false swine flu pandemic in 1976. And he brings out that what happened back then was that the government was telling the people that there was going to be this uh, uh, really, really bad virus, the swine flu pandemic, and that the best thing would be for all of them to take a vaccine, and that this would be uh, something that would be safe, give them a chance to survive. But if you have a chance, take a look at this video. It's called 60 Minutes and the False Swine Flu Pandemic of 1976, and you'll see, how Mike Wallace exposes the government into convincing people to take this vaccine. And when so many of them got injured from the vaccine, they were completely ignored by the government. People made a claim for their injuries, and some had, disabilities, lifelong disabilities, and many died from from these vaccines. But the government completely ignored them. And so this I was trying to warn the elders that this might be similar happening in 2020 as happened in 1976. That it was completely a false, misleading pandemic just to get everyone, to take the vaccine. And this, of course, was, for the profit, monetary profit of pharmaceuticals and governments equally. Uh, so I asked, when did the view on vaccines change among Jehovah's Witnesses? And why? Because they did not take vaccines in the 50s or even in the early 60s. Okay, but they didn't answer that question. As a result of my emails and my views on conventional medicine and my faith in God and his immune system, rather than putting faith in vaccines and masks, I was asked or told, of course, that I was no longer welcome in the Edmonds congregation in 2020, which was fine, you know, because when I heard that 99% of Bethelites were vaccinated, I knew then that this was not Jehovah's organization. Okay, that was what really convinced me completely. Okay, and when I found out afterwards about the child sexual abuse, and watched the Australian Royal Commission and Brother Jackson giving his testimony, there was no more any question about this being a complete sect, a cult, and a complete falsehood and hypocrisy. And then I decided that what I needed to do was to expose them. And that's exactly what I've been doing since 2020, actually. Uh, I came across the Golden Age, which is a publication from back, February 4th, 1931. The Golden Age, February 4th, 1931. On page 293, we find, okay, vaccination is in direct violation of the everlasting covenant that God made with Noah after the flood. So this is why the Jehovah's Witnesses didn't take a vaccine in the 50s and the 60s. Okay. When the change happened, I don't know. I didn't search into it. But definitely, this is what was written on that page. So, is the governing body not violating the everlasting covenant that God made with Noah? Could this covenant be changed or violated sometime after Noah or 1931? It says everlasting covenant. This means that the moment that the governing body violated this covenant and are not repentant, the governing body no longer have Jehovah's approval and have been in opposition to Jehovah since. My guess is that they have been in opposition to Jehovah from the start. So they have actually stumbled and pushed away many righteous men and women in search of the truth and to worship Jehovah in truth and spirit. So these are the reasons that I left the JW cult. And I never fit into their cult, not from day one. Okay. I started reproving the elders from day one. And I'm now, taking these elders to court. Finally, I'm taking them to court. I'm taking them to the Human Rights Tribunal. Okay. And so let's see how they do where they have no power, but have to answer for all their violations of my human rights. And I encourage you to do the same, to do exactly the same for all the violations that they have committed in your lives. So God bless my friends. And until next time, all the best to you. And if you have any questions, if you need any help in filing a claim with the Human Rights Tribunal, I'll be more than happy to help you. So bye for now.